you looking for a way to break Bolas' Citadel before it gets banned? Me too. So stick around for this Citadel combo deck tech. Welcome to the Trinisphere, where Timmy, Johnny, and Spike battle over all things EDH. I'm Adam, the Johnny, your host for this deck tech. This week, we are trying to break our new War of the Spark toy, Bolas' Citadel. Before we get into the details, make sure you hit the like button on this video to show us you want more, and subscribe for more deck techs and gameplay videos as they come out, and hit the bell icon for notifications. So the crew on the Trinisphere decided that we were going to have another build-off, and this time, we are all trying to win with Bolas' Citadel. This is an all-in combo strategy aimed at breaking this card wide open. Traditionally, this is when we jump in and we start talking about our commanders, but our commanders are not as relevant here as what we are doing. Our commanders are going to be Tymna and Thrasios, so we are in the redless color combination, but we're not really building around their abilities. We're going to talk about their abilities a little bit later on, but what we really want to focus on is Bolas' Citadel. That's what the deck is based around. That's our unofficial commander that we can't have in the command zone. Bolas' Citadel is a legendary artifact for 3 black that says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play the top card of your library if you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than paying its mana cost. Also, it has tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life. In this build, we are going to focus more on the kind of storm capability, or the allowing us to just play as many things off the top of our deck as possible, rather than the sacrificing 10 non-land permanents. However, that is there if we need a backup plan. Bolas' Citadel paired up with a real weird card from way back in the day, which is Mortuary. All the way back from Stronghold. Mortuary is 3 and a black, and it says when any creature put into a graveyard from play, put that creature on top of your library. Anything that dies goes on top of our library. Bolas' Citadel allows us to cast it from the top of our library. Perfect. Those two cards together are going to do a lot. In addition, we also have Enduring Renewal, which does something similar. It says play with your hand revealed. If you would draw a card, reveal the top card of your library instead. If it's a creature card, put it into your graveyard, otherwise draw the card. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from play, return it to your hand. Mortuary puts them back on top of our library. Enduring Renewal puts them back in our hand. Depending on what creatures we're using, we're going to want one or the other. But both of them are in here for different ways to win. When we have Bolas' Citadel and Mortuary out, one of our prime win conditions is a hot 2-cent card, something like that, 16 cents, you know? A Death Cultist, which is a 1/1 that says sacrifice Death Cultist. Target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. With Mortuary, pay 1 black to put Death Cultist out. I sacrifice it, making somebody lose 1 life. I gain 1 life, and then it ends up back on top of my library because of Mortuary. I then use that 1 life I just gained to cast it with Bolas' Citadel, and then I repeat the process. So I never actually end up losing any life from Bolas' Citadel. Never really end up gaining any life, but I do drain all of my opponents for all of their life. So that card alone with Bolas' Citadel and Mortuary will win you the game. Another way to do it is use a Grave Merchant of Asphodel. Obviously with that we're going to need a sack outlet, so when it dies we can put it back on our library. We're going to have to pay 5 life to cast it, but we're probably going to gain at least 5, if not more, off of the damage that it does to our opponents. We have a lot of weird ones in here. Tarpon, which is a 1 mana 1/1 that gains us a life when it dies. So with a Tarpon and a sack outlet, we can keep putting that back on top of our library over and over with Mortuary. And then we just have infinite death triggers, also infinite casts off just that 1 card, and that will allow us to win via something like Bitter Ordeal or Tendrils of Agony. Looking at the Bolas' Citadel plus Enduring Renewal, we also have Blood Pet in here. So for 1 black, we play Blood Pet, and then we sack it for a black mana, comes back into our hand with Enduring Renewal, and then we do that over and over and over and over again. We don't actually need Citadel except for the initial cast and to get us there, and then we play Bitter Ordeal and or Tendrils, and we win off of that. Or if we have a Suture Priest, we end up with infinite life. Either way, this is a very, very strong strategy. The Enduring Renewal is kind of a pet card. But Mortuary has become my new pet card with this deck. Man, that card does all the work. Some of the pitfalls to be worried about here. If you end up with Bolas' Citadel out, you can potentially win right then, as soon as you get it out. And you can get it out as early as turn 4. Things that get in your way are basically whatever's on the top of your deck. If you end up with 3 or so lands on the top of your deck, you're going to be a little hurt. You're not going to be able to get through your entire deck, and that is an actual problem. So we do have only 29 lands in this deck, which is really light, but we also have a curve of 2.3 is our average CMC. We have mostly 1-drops for our creatures, but we do have some other things that increase it a bit. So we tried to go really low with the lands and really low with the curve, but we also still have to have ways to manipulate the top of our deck. Part of manipulating the top of our deck and part of making sure that we have all the colors that we need, we made sure to put all 10 of the fetch lands into the deck. So we have Arid Mesa, Bloodstained Mire, Flooded Strand, Misty Rainforest, Verdant Catacombs, Windswept Heath, Wooded Foothills, Scalding Tarn, Marsh Flats, Polluted Delta. All of them are in there, even though some of them, like Arid Mesa for example, can only grab plains. We're still putting it in here because just being able to sack it, even if we don't get anything off of it, just being able to sack it and reset the top card of our library by shuffling is going to be important. So we want to have those out and not even crack them if possible for a while. So the next group of top deck fixing that we have is some scries. I didn't put too much draw in this deck. There are some draw spells, but not a whole lot. Most of it relies on scrying because I want to be able to cast something that is going to put things on the bottom of my deck or keep things on the top of my deck. And the scries were really powerful in playtesting. So I have some standbys as well as some kind of odd ones. We have Augury Owl, Omen Speaker, Viscera Seer, and Wall of Runes out of nowhere. The 1-mana scry wall is actually really good because if you happen to get that as one of the cards on top of your library when you have a Bolas' Citadel out, put itself down for just paying 1 life, look at the top card, if it's a land, just put that on the bottom, and then hopefully you'll be able to continue your path. So some other great fixing of the top of the deck here are Alchemist's Apprentice, a Minotaur the Fate Shifter, Azusa Lost But Seeking, and Brainstorm. So Brainstorm, obviously, if you have any live cards in hand, you can put them back on the top of your deck. Alchemist's Apprentice allows you to, with Mortuary out, put it back on top of the deck, as well as potentially draw a land off of the top. So we play Alchemist's Apprentice. If we see a land on top and Bolas' Citadel can't get past that because we've already played our lands for turn, we sacrifice Alchemist's Apprentice, draw that land off the top. With Mortuary, the Alchemist's Apprentice goes back on top of the deck, and then we just pay 2 life, put that out, and then hopefully we have a live card underneath that. A Minotaur allows us to replace the top card of our deck similar to how Brainstorm does with something potentially live from our hand, and Azusa will just let us play more lands off the top if we need to. Courser of Crewfix is also in here for a little bit of life gain off of some of those lands. Then we have Frantic Search, Hapless Researcher, and Mana Severance. Hapless Researcher works very similarly to what I described with Alchemist's Apprentice. Mana Severance, though, is fantastic. If you have a perfect time to cast this, then you 100% cast it and then go through your entire deck. So Mana Severance for 2 life off the top with Bolas' Citadel will get all of the lands, and it doesn't say basic lands, it gets all the rest of the lands out of your library. This is an all-in effect. We're going to get all the lands out of our library and then just start playing the whole deck off of Bolas' Citadel and hope that we don't die. Next group is Necropotence, Oracle of Moldiah, Path of Discovery, and Ponder. So Oracle of Moldiah and Path of Discovery are going to let us sift through those lands on the top of our deck that we're worried about again. Necropotence will do the same thing, because every time that we activate Necropotence for 1 life, we will exile the top card face down, and then we'll get it in our hand at the end step. We're not planning on getting to the end step, we're planning on winning that turn. So I pay 1 life, exile the land from the top, and then hopefully can play the card right underneath of it. And then lastly, we have Sensei's Divining Top and one of our commanders, Thrasios. Thrasios allows us to scry, allows us to get some extra lands off the top of our deck into play. Sensei's Divining Top also allows us to manipulate that top card of the deck by drawing it with Sensei's Divining Top and then only paying 1 life with Bolas' Citadel to replay the top off of the top of our deck. That is going to be very, very helpful. So again, as I said, we didn't really concentrate too much on draw here, so our next category is going to be tutors. We want to make sure that we get the cards, but we don't want to draw too much because everything that we draw, we get in our hand and we can't play with Bolas' Citadel. We focused a lot on tutors, and so our first tutors are Enlightened Tutor, Mystical Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, and Demonic Tutor. Demonic Tutor is amazing, everybody knows that, we don't really have to talk about it. Enlightened Tutor, Mystical Tutor, and Vampiric Tutor are all in here, and you could add Worldly Tutor, I did not, but you could add Worldly Tutor in here because all of them put the cards that you need on top of your deck. And if they're on top of your deck, then you can play them with Bolas' Citadel right off of there, and then you're probably tutoring up something that's going to win the game, so you just win right from there. The next group we have Doomsday, Diabolic Intent, and Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage is primarily just going to get Soul Ring and Mana Crypt, which allow us to just ramp into things. That's why we have it in here. Normally you would want to have a few more targets for Trinket Mage. There was a build of this that had a whole bunch of X-Spell creatures that were artifacts that Trinket Mage could get. They came out, but Trinket Mage still ended up making the cut. Diabolic Intent, we want a lot of our creatures to die because we have Enduring Renewal and we have Mortuary. We're fine with them dying, so using them as a tutor is fantastic. And then Doomsday basically just sets up 5 cards. You're never going to draw past them if you have Mortuary and Bolas out, so we're just going to have those 5 cards that we need in the exact order and just win the game. Ranger of Eos, Fabricate, Transmute Artifact, and Treasure Mage. So Fabricate, Transmute Artifact, and Treasure Mage will all get us Bolas' Citadel. Very important. Transmute Artifact will get it onto the battlefield. Ranger of Eos gets some of our critical pieces. It gets Tarpon, and it gets our Death Cultist, it gets Hapless Researcher, it gets a lot of our little one-drop creatures that are just utility and good in the deck. Alright, ramp. We also depended on one-drop creatures in order to keep our curve low. So we have Birds of Paradise, Elves of Deep Shadow, Llanowar Elves, and Noble Hierarch. We put a few rocks in here as well, which is Mana Crypt, Mind Stone, Soul Ring, Pristine Talisman for a little bit of life gain, and Felwar Stone. We also have some land-based ramp in Ancient Tomb, Phyrexian Tower, and Lake of the Dead, which can be very explosive. We have some sacrifice-based or creature-based, kind of a hodgepodge here of Phyrexian Altar, Ashnod's Altar, Pitiless Plunderer, and Sakura Tribe Elder. And then we have Coiling Oracle and Krosan Wayfarer, which is another one of those that we can sacrifice and play off of Mortuary and Bolas' Citadel. And then we have a lot of Recursion because, again, we are in an all-in type scenario. So where we have Recursion here, I would often have a lot of removal. We don't have a whole lot of removal or interaction because we are trying to pull this off as early as turn 4 and as late as turn 6. As long as we're able to get everything online, we just need to be able to get all of our pieces. So we tutor, we get stuff back from the graveyard if it gets blown up, doesn't matter. That's what we're in for. So we have Academy Ruins in here to get things back on top of our deck if we need to. Eternal Witness, Salvage, and Noxious Revival. We also have an Ojutai's Command, which by the way is a free cast off the top. So if for some reason our Death Cultist ends up in our graveyard, we can use the modes of getting a creature back and gaining 4 life and play Ojutai's Command off the top with Bolas' Citadel and just get the creature back we need and basically have played that for free. We also have Reclaim, Regrowth, Rift Sweeper, just in case something exiled our Bolas' Citadel or our Mortuary. And then we also have Magus of the Will and Yawgmoth's Will for all-around Recursion. Alright, so we've got a couple extra little tiny spicy things, and then a tiny bit of draw at the end. So, spicy things, Alchemist Refuge, just in case we need to do everything on somebody else's turn. If we have Alchemist Refuge out, and we happen to draw into Bolas' Citadel, and we're looking for the right time, when somebody's tapped out, or they're about to win and we're just doing it in response to them, we can flash out everything, and then flash everything off the top as well. Children of Corliss, which is a 1-drop that you can sacrifice and then gain all the life that you lost this turn. Well, every time you pay life with Bolas' Citadel, you have lost that life, so you can gain it all back. So it effectively, if you were at 40 life, puts you almost at 80 life for using Bolas' Citadel. And then you have Night of Autumn, so a little bit of removal for artifacts and enchantment, as well as you can play it, sacrifice it, put it back on top, and it gains you life every time. And so every time that you do that, you would end up netting 1 life. We pay 3 life to play it, gain 4 life, sacrifice it, do the whole thing over again. Every iteration we get 1 life. And then we have Yeheni Undying Partisan, is just one of our sack outlets. For draw, we have 4 cards only. Tymna, which is one of our commanders, also has a little bit of lifelink on it. Elite Guard Mage. So Elite Guard Mage is going to let us pay 1 life, because you pay 4 off Bolas' Citadel, you gain 3. So you're paying 1 life to draw a card. So if we really needed to draw into something and we had Bolas' Citadel out, we could basically just keep paying 1 life over and over to draw the card that we need. Or keep getting death triggers depending on what we need to do. Then we have Fibblethip. So Fibblethip being able to pay 2 life, draw 2 cards because he gets played off the top is pretty good. And that is about it. That's all we have in this deck. And this deck is super fun. I actually have not had this much fun even goldfishing a deck in years. This was really cool to build. Really fun, pretty budget friendly other than the mana base. The mana base is a little painful. If you want to see the detailed deck tech, you can check it out below in the description. But that is it for our deck tech. Make sure that you hit the like button on this video to show us that you want more of these, and subscribe to see more deck techs and gameplay videos as they come out. Until next time, keep brewing, my friends.